August 5th, 1962, Los Angeles. Police break down the bedroom door at 12305 Helena Drive. Inside, there are no burglars, no fire, no danger. But inside lies the most desired woman on the planet. Naked, dead, with a phone in her hand. Marilyn Monroe. The official version states barbiturate overdose, suicide. But when detectives begin examining the room, they notice details that don't add up to a logical picture. Empty pill bottles sit on the nightstand, but there's not a single glass of water nearby. How did she swallow 47 capsules without water? The body lies perfectly straight, hands neatly folded on her chest. People dying from overdoses don't look like this. They convulse, clutch their throats, collapse in agony. And most importantly, experts find no trace of barbiturates in her stomach. The pills should have dissolved, left at least some traces on the mucous membrane. But the stomach is clean as a baby's. Yet in her blood, the poison concentration is 10 times higher than the lethal dose. This is physically impossible with oral ingestion. If there were no pills in the stomach, then the poison was introduced another way. Pathologist Dr. Noguchi makes a red notation in his report. Additional investigation required. Discrepancies found. But within 24 hours, the case is closed under pressure from above. Someone very influential wants Marilyn's death blamed on depression and forgotten as quickly as possible. Someone who was with her that night. Someone whose voice was the last she heard. Someone who ran the United States of America. His last name was Kennedy. But what if I told you that the Kennedy brothers, John and Robert, didn't just use Marilyn as a mistress? What if they passed her on to a third player, a man from the shadows who controlled the president, his brother, and Marilyn herself? A man who decided she knew too much and who gave the order. Friends, what you're about to hear won't make it into history textbooks. This is taboo for Hollywood and taboo for politicians. YouTube doesn't like it when we expose these topics, and only your support helps us break through the silence. Right now, hit subscribe and like this video. It takes 1 second, but for us, it's a signal. You want to know the truth, no matter how monstrous it may be. Done? Thank you. Then let's begin. To understand what happened that August night, we need to go back 15 years to the moment when Norma Jean Baker became Marilyn Monroe. Many people think Marilyn created herself, a poor orphan who became a sex symbol through talent and beauty. But that's a beautiful lie. Marilyn Monroe was a project, created in the closed offices of 20th Century Fox Studios. She was assembled like a car on a conveyor belt. Hair color changed to platinum blonde. Voice made childlike and breathy. Walk corrected with a specially broken heel so her hips would sway just right. The image of the dumb blonde who excites but doesn't threaten men was created by a team of producers, directors, and PR specialists. But behind all of this stood another man, a curator from the shadows named Johnny Rosselli. Officially, he was listed as an independent producer. Unofficially, he was the liaison between Hollywood and the mob. The man who decided which actress would get a role in a blockbuster and which would suddenly break her leg in an accident on set. Rosselli noticed young Norma Jean at a magazine photo shoot and saw in her not just a pretty face. He saw a weapon against America's most influential people. Marilyn was launched into orbits of power. First producers, then directors, then studio moguls. Each of them fell in love, shared secrets in bed, became manageable. And Rosselli collected dossiers, photographs, recordings, compromising material in case pressure was needed. Marilyn wasn't just an actress. She was an agent of influence
who didn't even suspect it. She played the role of the naive blonde so convincingly that she believed it herself.
She sincerely thought men loved her, that President John Kennedy chose her because she was special. Poor Marilyn didn't understand she was a pawn in a game that would destroy her. Friends, do you think it's possible to become a Hollywood star without support from dark forces? Or is every big career a deal with someone very dangerous? Write in the comments whether you believe Hollywood is controlled by invisible puppet masters, or if this is just conspiracy theory. May 1962, Madison Square Garden, New York. The venue holds 45,000 people. TV cameras broadcast the event worldwide. President John Kennedy's birthday. And then she walks onto the stage, wearing a nude-colored dress sewn with 6,000 crystals, so tight it was stitched directly onto her body. Marilyn walks slowly, swaying her hips, and begins to sing. "Happy birthday, Mr. President." Her voice is sultry, almost moaning. Every word sounds like a caress. The hall falls silent because this isn't a greeting. It's a public declaration of love, or more precisely, a public humiliation of the president's wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, sitting in the front row, pale with rage. Kennedy smiles and enjoys the moment, showing the entire world that he possesses the most desired woman on the planet. But what the audience doesn't know, 3 hours before the performance, Marilyn was sobbing in her dressing room, begging not to go on stage. He promised he'd divorce Jacqueline, promised we'd be together, but he's lying. He's just using me, she told her assistant. They gave her a sedative, and she went on stage like a zombie, singing, smiling, but already dead inside. The affair began a year earlier. John Kennedy was famous for his insatiability. Actresses, secretaries, college students, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. The Secret Service and classified reports called this stress relief operations for the president. But Marilyn was special. Not just a mistress, but a trophy. America's sex symbol in the president's bed meant pure power. Kennedy met with her in the penthouse of the Carlyle Hotel in Manhattan. Security blocked the entire floor. Marilyn was brought in through the service entrance. 45 minutes, no more. Quick, rough, no tenderness. Afterward, he'd dress, kiss her on the forehead, and leave, leaving her alone in the rumpled bed feeling like an expensive prostitute. But she clung to the illusion. He loves me. He just can't admit it publicly. Everything will change soon. Marilyn started calling the White House frequently and hysterically. "When will you get divorced? Why don't you answer? I want to have your baby." The president's secretaries panicked, understanding this was no longer a safe affair but real danger. Marilyn was becoming uncontrollable. And that's when John Kennedy made the decision to pass her to his brother. Summer 1962. John calls his younger brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. "Bobby, I've got a problem with the Hollywood blonde. She's calling too much. Deal with her." Robert understands this isn't a request, it's an order. The task is simple. Distract Marilyn, comfort her, and shut her up. Robert meets with her in Los Angeles, and he turns out to be a completely different person, nothing like his brother. John was a predator who took and discarded, while Robert is gentle, intellectual, with sad eyes. He talks with Marilyn for hours about politics, civil rights, her difficult childhood. He listens to her, and for the first time in years, someone sees her not as a 36-inch chest, but as a living person. Marilyn falls in love again, this time even harder. She thinks, "This is him, my real one, the one who'll save me." They start meeting at Marilyn's house regularly. Neighbors see the Attorney General's black limousine at her gate. Robert comes during the day, stays 2 to 3 hours, leaves through the back exit. But Marilyn doesn't understand the main thing. Robert isn't a lover, he's a handler. His job is to keep her under control so she won't go to the press and destroy the president's career. And Robert plays his role perfectly, swears his love, promises to leave his wife, promises a future. But those same days he reports to his brother. Situation under control. She's calmed down, but this can't go on much longer. Marilyn starts keeping a diary, and the entries from that period are chilling. Bobby said John loved me, but couldn't be with me because of the country. Now I'm with Bobby. He's different. He's honest. But why do I feel this is also a lie? She starts to suspect, and then she makes a fatal mistake. She starts threatening. In phone conversations with Robert, she says, "If you don't leave your wife, I'll call a press conference and tell everything." She thinks this will make him act, but Robert passes the information up the chain to the third player. Who really controlled Marilyn? Who was the puppet master pulling the strings? His name was Sam Giancana, boss of the Chicago mob, the man who helped John Kennedy steal the 1960 presidential election. How? Giancana controlled Chicago's unions and polling stations. He falsified thousands of ballots, securing Kennedy's victory in Illinois. And victory in Illinois meant victory in the country. Without Giancana, Kennedy would never have become president. And now the mob boss was demanding payment for his debt. But instead of gratitude, Robert Kennedy, the new Attorney General, started a war on the mob. Arrests, raids, persecution. Giancana was furious. "I made that kid president, and he sicked his little brother on me." He was looking for a way to pressure the Kennedys. He needed leverage, compromising material. And that's when Marilyn Monroe enters the picture. Giancana understands she's a ticking time bomb. She slept with the president. She's sleeping with the attorney general. She knows state secrets, and she's emotionally unstable. The perfect target. Giancana gives his man Johnny Roselli a task. Plant bugs in Monroe's house. Record everything. Microphones appear in the walls of Marilyn's mansion. Phone lines are tapped. And not just by the mob. The FBI, on orders from J. Edgar Hoover, is also listening. The CIA, on its own initiative, is also listening. Poor Marilyn lives in an aquarium of bugs, where every moan, every tear, every word is recorded on tape. Giancana collects recordings of conversations between Marilyn and Robert, preparing to publish them and destroy the Kennedys. But then, something unexpected happens. August 4th, 1962, Saturday, Robert Kennedy flies to Los Angeles. Officially for a charity dinner, unofficially, to meet with Marilyn. Witnesses see his car at the Helena Drive house twice, during the day and in the evening. A neighbor hears shouting, a man's voice and a woman's crying. "You promised. You lied. You all lie." Robert tries to calm her down, but she's uncontrollable and threatens to call the newspapers. "I'll tell them everything. About John, about you, about Cuba, about Fidel." Cuba, Fidel. That's the red line. Robert goes pale, realizing she knows too much. Operation Bay of Pigs. Plans to assassinate Castro. Connections with the mob. If Marilyn talks, everything collapses. Robert leaves in a panic and calls someone from his car. Who? His brother? Giancana? The FBI? We don't know. But 3 hours later, Marilyn Monroe will be dead. Friends, who do you think gave the order? The Kennedys themselves to protect their careers? Or the mob to eliminate a witness? Or the intelligence services to protect state secrets? Write your version in the comments. August 4th, 10:30 p.m. Housekeeper Eunice Murray finds Marilyn in the bedroom. The door is locked from inside. The light is on. The phone lies next to her hand. Eunice calls Marilyn's doctor, Dr. Greenson, who arrives in 20 minutes, breaks the window and enters. He checks for a pulse. There is none. The body is still warm. She died recently, maybe an hour ago. Greenson calls Marilyn's psychiatrist, Dr. Engelberg, who also comes and examines the body. And then something strange begins.
They don't call the police, don't call an ambulance. They just sit in the house with a dead body for 4 hours, from 10:30 p.m. to 4:25 a.m. What were they doing? Erasing evidence and removing traces of Robert Kennedy's visit. Housekeeper Eunice confessed later. Dr. Greenson ordered me to wash the sheets. I washed them at 2 a.m. and didn't understand why. When police finally arrive, the crime scene is already clean, but detectives still find oddities. First, phone records disappeared. Marilyn's calls for the last 48 hours were erased from the phone company's database. Someone with high-level access ordered them destroyed. Second, the red diary disappeared. Marilyn kept a diary in a red leather cover, wrote down everything: conversations with the Kennedys, state secrets, names. Friends saw it the day before her death, but it's not in the house. Third, bruises on the body. The pathologist documents fresh bruises on Marilyn's thighs and back, as if she'd been held down by force or beaten. Fourth, empty stomach but poison in the blood. The barbiturates weren't swallowed, they were introduced, which means Marilyn couldn't have done this herself. Los Angeles County Coroner Thomas Noguchi makes a conclusion. Probable suicide. Not suicide, but probable. This is the language of doubt. But the case is closed within 48 hours. The FBI confiscates all materials. Witnesses are ordered to stay silent. 62 years have passed, and we still don't know who killed Marilyn Monroe. But we know who should have protected her. John Kennedy used her, dumped her, and passed her to his brother. Robert Kennedy manipulated her, spied on her, and was at her house the night she died. Sam Giancana bugged her, collected compromising material, and had a motive to eliminate a witness. The FBI and CIA knew about the affair and feared a leak of state secrets. They're all guilty. Marilyn Monroe wasn't an actress. She was a commodity passed from hand to hand, from producer to president, from president to attorney general, from politicians to the mob. She thought she was loved, but she was only used. And when she became dangerous, she was eliminated. In 1968, Robert Kennedy was assassinated with a shot to the head. In 1975, Sam Giancana was killed with 7 bullets at point-blank range, right before testifying to Congress. In 1976, Johnny Roselli died, his body found in a barrel floating in the ocean. Everyone who knew the truth about Marilyn died a violent death. Everyone except one thing: the red diary, which was never found. But in 2016, at an auction in Los Angeles, a strange discovery surfaced. A page from the diary numbered 112. On it, in Marilyn's handwriting, it says, "Bobby promised to come on Saturday. I'll tell him I know everything. I'm not afraid. I'll tell the truth. They can't stop me." Saturday was August 4th, 1962. That night she died. They stopped her. Marilyn Monroe's story isn't a story of glamour. It's a story of how power destroys the inconvenient, how a woman is turned into a weapon and then discarded when she breaks. Marilyn wanted love but got betrayal. She wanted truth but got a bullet, or a syringe, or an enema with barbiturates. We'll never know exactly how they killed her, but we know why. Because she knew too much and loved the wrong people.